are 6 things that I want to take you through, and you're going to want to write each of these down because they're critically important. They're making loads of money, but how is that possible? They've got a crappy product. I have bottled in this knowledge for as long as I can remember, and I figured out this solution, and it changed my life, watching as people are teaching trash, teaching outdated stuff, teaching stuff that quite simply doesn't work anymore, and I feel this charge that I need to start sharing this. There are 2 things, 2 parts to this that's really important that you're aware of, all right? If you're taking notes, you may even want to be scribbling these things out just to follow along, okay? 2 things. Number 1 is we've got the delivery of your offer. That's the thing that people are actually going to get when they invest with you and become a client. This is what they are getting. The second thing, however, alongside delivery, is the positioning of that offer. And the positioning wraps around the delivery, okay? The positioning, your marketing, the way you're putting it out into the marketplace, the way you're describing your product or your program is what actually sells someone on the offer. So we find that a lot of the clients that we work with, we take a look at what they're doing, and they spend so much time working on delivery and making sure that it's great, which is good, by the way. Nothing wrong with that. But they focus on the stuff. And we think the value in the offer and someone wanting to sign up for that offer is going to be based on how much stuff there is. But when it comes time to trying to sell it, we haven't really focused much on positioning at all. And when you've got Mr. or Mrs. Prospect over here looking at your business, thinking about investing with you, they're not bypassing positioning to just hear about delivery and go, well, that sounds fantastic. I get 12 one-to-ones with you, but your competitor only gives me 10. So I get better value for money with you. I'm coming in. No, they're not. It's the positioning that's going to sell it. So we can't focus on the stuff. We must focus on how the stuff is being positioned. With me so far? Yes. Okay. So this is represented in a scenario that we've probably all experienced in the past before. I'm going to ask you for a show of hands if you've ever bought something, a product, a program, a service, or anything like that, and once you purchased it, once you used it, once you got into it, disappointment started to sink in. Anyone? Okay. So the hands around the room prove this idea. You didn't know what the delivery was actually going to be like. What you were sold on is the positioning, the wrapper. It sounded great, and then that person or that business or that product did not back it up. Okay? So if we look at this scenario here, let's say we've got business A or business B, and we've got the delivery, and we've got the positioning. Now, let's say we've got business A, one of your competitors or someone like that. Let's say they have focused a lot on delivery, but they have not focused at all on positioning. Or we've got business B that have focused so much on the positioning, but they've not focused at all on the delivery. Which of these 2 businesses wins the customer? B. So over here, they're making loads of money, but how is that possible? They've got a crappy product. It's possible because they have got really good at the marketing. They've got really good at the positioning. So if you find yourself sat over here, something's got to change. Because the ideal, of course, is that we nail both of those. We nail delivery and we nail positioning, but you will not have the opportunity to deliver for anyone unless you learn the positioning. Still tracking with me? Yes. Okay. So what we need to do is figure out how do we create an offer that is positioned so well that draws people in, and then we have the chance to actually deliver for them, all right? So there are 6 things that I want to take you through, and you're going to want to write each of these down because they're critically important. Okay? The first thing is when you are thinking about the positioning of your offer, okay? Want to make sure we're on track here. We're not talking about delivery. We're focusing just on the positioning right now, and I'm trusting that you'll, of course, have a good product buried within that. Okay, number one. Results orientated, okay? People, your customers, your prospects, when they're interested in your business and they sign up to become a client, they're actually buying into the result that they want and need. They're not signing up or buying into your product. And it's really, really, really important that we know this, okay? It's the result that they want. They don't want the stuff, okay? So look at it like this. Let's say you're over here, and you've got your product here, okay? Sorry, this is actually your prospect, okay? This is your prospect, and this is your product. We think that they're making a buying decision about whether to buy the product or not. But they're actually overlooking your product. In fact, your product is helping them to see into the future at R for results. That's what they're actually buying into. It's just that your product is facilitating them to get that result. It's the results they want. It's the results that they are signing up for. And so when you're thinking about your marketing, your messaging, and your positioning, we've got to make sure that what we're doing is keeping it results orientated. What is the outcome for the client? Not what do they get. That's very, very logical, and very few people make a buying decision with the logical brain. We do have that in the process there somewhere, but for the most part, it's results that they're after, okay? Number two, displayed understanding, okay? The idea here is that you want your prospects, the people that are interested in working with you, you want them to feel understood. Understood. If your prospects feel understood, they will feel a level of connection to you that they don't to your competition. All right? So the game plan is that we're trying to figure out as much about our prospect as we can. We're trying to understand them. We're trying to get into their head. We're trying to think how they think. We're trying to understand the pains that they have, the frustrations that they're going through, even down to how would they articulate the problem. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling inside where you're frustrated by something, you've got a problem with something, and you don't have the solution, and you really just need someone to listen to you. Well, if you try to talk to a family member, maybe it's that person in your family that's not got a good reputation for listening and doesn't really understand you for the most part, all right, then if you sit down with them and you share with them the problem that you have, and you really just need a listening ear, you share that problem, you can see the look on their face. They don't get it. They're not understanding it. You feel you have to reiterate the problem. And now it becomes even more frustrating because they're not understanding the problem. You're not feeling any better. In fact, you're now feeling worse, right? Whereas, if you've got that best friend of yours, where you've got a problem, you've got a frustration, something's going on for you, you arrange a coffee date, you sit down, everything you say, they just get it. You can tell by their body language, you can tell by their words, their response to you. The things they're saying are making you feel good because you feel understood. Okay, I've got this problem, but I'm sharing it with someone, they understand, they get it. Okay, I'm relaxing into this feeling. You don't necessarily leave that coffee date with solutions. You don't leave that coffee date with answers. But you do leave that coffee date feeling a little bit better because someone understood you, and you feel more connected to that individual, and you feel that you can go to them again if that problem persisted. You with me? Yeah. That's the feeling we're after. That's the feeling we're after in our marketing. We want to be able to tell stories, say things, create hooks and angles, and touch on the pains of our prospects in such a way where they see your ads and they see your copywriting and they see your funnels, they go, this person gets it. They just get it. They're describing me. The things that they're saying are really resonating with me and making sense, and I feel like some trust is building as a result. All right? So, displayed understanding, really, really important. Understanding that one? Yep? Okay. Number 3, simplify the actual deliverables. This is one part where we're going to talk about the delivery, but in the context of how it's all positioned. Simplify your deliverables. Okay? don't add more stuff, all right? Your prospects and your potential clients don't actually want more stuff. They want the result. And it's really, really important that you remember point number one, because if you lock onto the fact that they want results, then everything you do to position your offer can be orientated towards that, not just adding more stuff. Sometimes I have found in my own experience, adding more stuff can actually lead to a bad offer. It can actually lead to a bad offer. Because if we remember point number one, that they want the result, then the bigger your product looks and sounds, it feels like the distance to the result is longer. This is all I want. I want the quickest, simplest, easiest path to this. The bigger this sounds, the more it sounds like work to the prospect. If it sounds like work, they don't want to do it and won't do it. Okay? So we actually don't want our offers to sound big. We actually want them to sound small. Think about it. If you had a problem and you had an issue, much like the one that you help your audience to solve, if there was a potential solution with someone who had an offer, and you get the breakdown of all that's included, and to get that result, to be in the program, there's 30 different calls that you have to join every week, and there's 50 hours worth of one-to-ones. The person selling it thinks, I've got a cracking offer. It's so good, I give so much stuff. The prospect's thinking, I don't want to go through all of that. Right? I've signed up for I'm a product of the product here, because I've signed up for programs before, and I'll even name drop him. His name's Alex Navas, and he was the client success manager for a really big competitor of ours in America. And I joined one of his programs. It was $25,000 for 3 months coaching with him. And he was just going to help us with our client success department. And he had a solution to a problem that I had. We were growing, and I wanted to make sure our client success was staying front and center. So I hired him, £25,000. And his offer was so simple, and there wasn't really much in it. And that was part of the attraction, because I'm busy and I don't want to have to go through a whole bunch of stuff. And I got with him, it's actually a really good tip. I didn't plan to say this. A really good tip when you're offering your deliverables. Is it okay if I just go off a little bit for a second? Okay. When you're presenting your deliverables to your clients, if you meet with them once a week, for example, then don't allow those one-to-one weekly calls to compound. It's a use it or lose it scenario. And we found that works actually really well for both parties involved. So rather than saying, in my offer, it's an 8-week offer, and we meet once a week, so you get 8 one-to-one calls, what will happen is they won't use the first 2, 3, 4, 5, and then at the last week, they say, right, I'm ready for my 8 calls this week. All right, well, you can't facilitate that. And so what you do is you say, we can meet up to once a week. If you don't need it, some of our clients don't, it's absolutely fine. We just roll on to the next week. But if you do need it, it's there for you. And I actually picked up on that idea with my own experience, because when I was going through this program with Alex Navas, I got a few really cool ideas from him, and he would text me saying, hey, dude, do you want to meet this week? I'm thinking, well, I've paid for that call technically, but I'm busy, and I actually don't need it, and I don't want to waste anyone's time. And so I just didn't request it. I didn't use as much. I even went in the opposite direction. I had even paid for it, and I wanted less stuff. Does that make sense? All I want was the result. And so we have to simplify the deliverables, otherwise you run the risk of actually having a bad, unattractive offer. Now, I'll tell you one more story, because this really hit this home for me, and I hope it does for you too. I have a vivid, frustrating memory of losing a potential client to this exact scenario, and this is what really ingrained it in my marketing philosophy, okay? There was a guy, it was actually at that event in 2018, funnily enough, so I could have really done with his business in that year in particular. 2018, he was at that event, and this was back when I was doing my own sales calls, so people would request a call with me and would have a chat, and he was interested in working with us in our main program at the end of that event in 2018, and so I had my phone call with him. We went through the process. He said, this all sounds great. I said, this all sounds great. We went away. We had a chance to have a little think, and we reconvened in the next few days. And we jumped on a call, and I said, Alex, where are we? We're ready to go? And he said, John, your offer sounded awesome. I think it's exactly what I need, and what you have is really what I'm looking for. I'm thinking, cool, in my head, this is in the bag. We got this. This is good to go. And he says, but I signed up with one of your competitors. I was like, oh, shoot, all right, it's a bit of a gut punch. So I thought, well, let's get some feedback. So I was like, well, can you help me understand? We had a great call. You've just said it's exactly what you needed, and this is what you wanted. So why have you gone somewhere else? Well, what was attractive about their offer? His answer was so interesting. This is a true story. His answer was, your program sounds so good, but it was so long, and there's so much involved in it that I just really, I'm a go-getter. I just need results now. I want the path of least resistance. I just want to get going. And your competitor, his program's half the time. Pick up on that. He didn't even want double the time in a program he paid for. Your competitor's half the time, and there was just less calls, less stuff, and I just wanted to just get going. I thought, okay, I've learned something really interesting there. Client wants the result. They don't want the stuff. Let's make sure that our stuff, and this is key, let's make sure our stuff is good enough to get them the result in the quickest time possible. That's the game plan for your deliverables. All right? Still tracking with me? Yeah. Okay. Number 4. What we want is a client journey. Going to have to deal with my horrendous handwriting. You can probably not even read any of that. It's probably not even worth me writing it out. Number 4, client journey. You need to present your offers in such a way that there is a journey from A to Z that the prospect can follow. They can start to picture what being inside your program will be like, will feel like, and exactly what it's going to do for them. Okay? Rather than, okay, you're here, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, you're after this result, I can get you there. Let's go. We're going to have some one-to-one calls to do it. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, but I can get you there. Well, it's quite a stretch. It's quite a stretch for you to assume that the prospect's going to be able to make that calculation in their own head. What would be better is for you to lay out a client journey. Okay, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, here's what's going to happen if you come inside this program. First week, this is what we work on. This is what we're going to do. This is the outcome of the first week. Then, in week 2, we should really be here, and that means that we're going to be focusing on this. If we're not there, this is what I'm going to do to make sure that we bring you to where we're supposed to be. Week 3, week 4, week 5. You get the idea. You can do this selling online courses. Create a journey from whatever your module 1 of training is to module 5 or 6. If it's a coaching program, tell them what those one-to-ones are going to be like over the next few sessions and what we're hoping to achieve progressionally. If it's group coaching, same thing. If it's a service that you offer. How many of you in the room have a service or an agency or something like that? Okay, a few of you, same thing. Don't just say, hey, we're going to run your ads, or hey, we'll build your funnel. Tell them what they're going to get and what the journey is going to be like. Help them to envision that client journey. The way I teach it to our clients is think about the actual deliverables of what you do as the vehicle. Imagine a car on a racetrack. Your offer, your deliverables is the vehicle. What we're doing here is mapping out the journey that they're going to go on. So we're not going to say, hey, yeah, you get this nice steering wheel, and we've got 4 wheels, and we've got a roof, which is great. We're not going to say that. We're going to say, hey, here's what we're going to do. Okay, I'm going to get you in this vehicle, and this is the first stage, and the second stage, and the third stage, until we get to the result we're after. All right? And then, where are we up to? That's 4. Number 5. Simple to understand. Simple to understand. So you kind of need to take all of this into account, everything we've been talking about so far, and present it in a way that is simple. A confused mind never buys is a phrase that people have thrown around for a very long time, and there's actually a lot of truth in it. If someone's confused, overwhelmed, that's not a place where people will make a buying decision from, whether that's on your webinars or in your funnels or on a sales call. They're feeling confused and overwhelmed. If there was too much information thrown at them, that's what leads to people saying, let me think about it. On the back end of a phone call, right? A part of that, let me think about it, is, whoa, like you've just given me so much, and I can't think and process all of that in this moment while we're still having a one-to-one. And I'm actually very much like that, by the way. I'm very much an internal processor. My wife is the opposite. She's an external processor. She would need to keep talking to me to understand something. Whereas I've got my information, thank you very much. Now, shut up, and I'm just going to go and sit by myself for 10, 15 minutes. And I don't say that to my wife, by the way. Sorry, that would be a terrible thing to do, and no, I won't do that. But I would say to the person on the phone, give me some time, let me just go away and think. So if we can find a way to simplify the description of our offer and the positioning of our offer, and if we can focus on these things, displayed understanding, simplifying the deliverables, and then simplifying the way we talk about those deliverables, and making sure there's a client journey and results, if we do all of that, and just keeping it at the forefront of our mind, how can I remove as much complexity from this as possible? How can I just make this just hand it on a silver platter and, okay, I get it. I get it. That offer sounds really great. Sounds like it's got all the stuff I want. Sounds like you can get me to the results, and I understand it. Okay, I'm in a position where I can make a buying decision. Still tracking with me? Okay. So then there's one final thing. That was 5. We've got 6. Premium pricing. Premium pricing. Okay? How many of you in the room already charge or know that you would like to charge once you launch your thing, let's say at least $2,000? $2,000? Okay, fantastic. About half the room. That's awesome. I class high ticket. Now, it's relative to industry, right? What's high ticket in one industry is not high ticket in another. So just trying to boil it down and putting it all into one pot. 2,000 is where we're kind of at the start of high ticket, with potentially some changes industry to industry. I won't ask the rest of you to put your hand up, but it's the rest of you that might want to think about increasing your price. You probably just have some limiting beliefs over how much you can charge, what you're worth, whether people will actually pay that price. Should I be getting case studies first before I charge high ticket? Should I be working for free first? This is one that I hear a lot. It actually quite frustrates me. How many of you have heard that idea? Work for free, and then once you've got your case studies, okay. Well, I hate that. I think that's so stupid. Because if you work for free, the people that you're working for don't care about nor value the thing that you're doing. So you end up just chasing people for these testimonials, and you're just coming across so desperate. I'll give you another quick tip. What I think is much better, this is what we do with our clients, is even if, how many of you are feeling bold enough to put your hand up? How many of you in the room are at that point in your journey right now where you're almost ready to launch, but you haven't done this business before, so you don't actually have any success stories yet? Anyone feeling bold enough to put your hand up? Few of you. Thank you for participating. Okay, so here's what you guys can do, all right? You know what you've got is great. You know it can help people. You know it can serve people, but you haven't got any success stories yet. Rather than working for free, you still build your value funnel, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. You still turn on traffic. You still do all of this marketing stuff to find the right type of prospects. And when you're offering it to your first few people, before they start asking about success stories or how many people have you done this with before they start asking that, when you're on the phone, you get in first. And here's the positioning. You say to the prospect, so look, Luna, we can talk about price. They'll probably ask you about price. We'll talk about price. Look, here's what I'm willing to do. I have bottled in this knowledge for as long as I can remember. And then you share a little bit about your story. I went through this process, and I figured out this solution, and it changed my life. And I've been watching the industry, watching as people are teaching trash, teaching outdated stuff, teaching stuff that quite simply doesn't work anymore. And I feel this charge that I need to start sharing this with other people, hence why we're on the phone right now. I've consulted with some people. This should be a $10,000 offer, and that's what it will be moving forward. But here's what I'm willing to do for you and the next 5 people that I work with. First thing is I'm going to cut that price in half. I'm not going to charge you the $10,000 that this will be very, very soon. I'm going to do it for you for $5,000. Furthermore, I'm going to work my tail off to make sure that we get this result. We're going to go all in on this together. You need to give me the time that I need from you. When I ask you to jump on a call so we can get some work done, we do it so we can go all in. But there is a catch. Can I tell you what the catch is? They'll say yes. You say, well, the catch is when we get you the result, not if. When we get you the result, I need you to provide me a video testimonial and a written testimonial that I can use to help me find more clients. I must admit, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, that part's a deal breaker for me. If I'm doing this all for you for $5,000, it actually is getting dangerously close to not worth the time that I'm putting in, but it's worth your success and it's worth the stories that it's going to help me gather. So if you agree to that condition, that you give me that testimonial, then I'm happy to do it for half the price we'll be doing it for in the future. You see how we've just framed it so differently now? We haven't had to work for free. We've just slashed our price. We're still being paid, but we've already handled the why don't you have any success stories objection. We've already handled it and put it into a nice story that makes a lot of sense. You with me? Yeah. So 10-5 might not be your number. It might be 4 and 2. It might be 2 and 1. I hate to say it, but some industries it might be. We've had some clients that they've started at the 1. We call it the nervous newbie zone, but for reasons I haven't got time to go into, there was her industry. Okay, I will tell you. Her business, because I just think I want you to understand why I'm saying 1,000. Her business is teaching people how to organize photos on their MacBook. Okay? That's her business. That's all it is. Older people who are not as tech savvy, teaches them how to organize photos of their grandchildren and stuff like that on their MacBook. Okay, $1,000 is kind of high ticket for that. All right, so premium pricing. Let me run you through a few reasons why it's absolutely worth going premium, even from the very beginning, and you can use that technique to discount it a little bit as you enter the market. Number 1, less mess in the business. Less mess and less stress. I actually don't want too much stuff in the business. Too many moving parts and it gets a little bit overwhelming for me, and I can't really cope with it. I need a system, and I need it to be nice and simple. The higher you charge, the less clients you need to make the great revenue. Yeah? Less mess, less stress. Better clients. Okay? I'm just going to say it. This is just what we've experienced. The more people typically are willing to invest with you, the nicer they seem to be. Okay? Anyone experienced something similar? Anyone had nice clients? Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm talking to the right people. The more someone pays, they're just better. They're nicer people. But I also find, and this is really interesting, I also find that there's like a moment where people stop investing in finding a solution, and it kind of shows their commitment level. Someone invests $7 into an ebook. They feel like they're investing the big bucks. $7. I'm going to go all in on this problem. $7. Then it's a $20 Udemy course. Then it's a $100 online course, and then it's a $500 boot camp, and then they just stop there. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want the client avatar that's a few stages further on. I don't want that to be the point where they drop off. It shows this commitment where they go, I'm just not really willing to invest much more. I'm not that committed to the problem that I have. Whereas when people start to invest high ticket, that's where you can tell, okay, their commitment follows their wallet in this decision. And then they're often the people that get the better result as well. Because if they've invested high ticket, they feel the weight of that financial decision. They feel the pinch of the investment, and they're committed to getting the result. Your success rate is often higher as a result as well. Okay? Another reason why I think high ticket makes so much sense is if you pin a $5,000 course or program, if that's what you could be charging, versus the temptation to go, I just don't know if I'm worth 5K yet, and I haven't got any stories, and I don't know. Let me do 500 instead. Okay? You've got to sell, and again, even I can do this math, you've got to sell 10 times more, did I get it right? 10 times more of a $500 program to make the same $5,000 over here. Well, I would argue, and I know it to be true, that it is easier to put great marketing out there and find one person that will invest with you at 5K than to find 10 people that will invest $500. Even though the investment is much smaller, we think that that must mean those people are easier to sell. Sometimes Prospects at 500 will hold on to that just as much as someone at 5K. If someone's willing to invest that much, they may have more funds available. And so they're kind of both holding on to that number with the same ferocity until eventually they are successfully sold into your program. So over here, you've got 10 people holding on to that 500. I need to make sure this is what I want. Am I buying into this positioning? Am I understanding it? You're trying to speak to 10 unique individuals with different problems, pains, frustrations. They would all describe it in a different way. It's a lot more work over here to make the same amount of money. And if over here you just have that one client at 5K, you've got less mess, less stress in the business, and everything's actually much, much better.